Hey there, it's Christian from 7Gamer Network, and today's video is about 5 upcoming Kickstarters that I am really excited about. Now these are about to land, as in these aren't about to be Kickstarters, they are Kickstarted. And they're going to be landing on our doorsteps, they're going to be landing on the internet stores, and of course maybe even at your local gaming store if yours is one that backs Kickstarters. And that's important because a couple of these are not going to be going to retail. That's going to make them much more difficult for you to get hold of a copy if you miss this kind of window that they land in. And I think for each of these games, we're looking at within the next 3 months of them arriving. Some of them will be certainly in the next month. So this window is really important. That's why I'm letting you know now, because if you wait, then we're looking at the second-hand market, and a couple of these games are going to be really small print runs. That means little supply, potentially big demand if they get the kind of reviews that I think they're going to get. Hence letting you know now so that you can earmark these and get these when they land in your internet stores or your local gaming store, whatever you use. Anyway, without further ado, let's get on to these games. So the first one we're going to talk about is this. This is Hybris Disordered Cosmos. Think ancient Greece, the ancient Greek gods no less, all sort of steampunkified. That's the feel for this. Each player is going to be playing as one of the ancient Greek gods. We've got Poseidon and Zeus and Athena and all of these. And this is essentially a worker placement / area control kind of game. But boy, is there a lot going on in this, guys. Everything from building technologies here, which you're going to be putting through the workshops and having them get spat out so that you can then place them onto the board. And there's a lot of them. The game literally comes with a little pamphlet detailing all of the various technologies that there are in the game. This is a complex, big game, guys. You've got the different type of workers that you have. You've got prophets and you've got warriors, but you can even go to the Colosseum, try and best some of the famous characters from Greek mythology, and they can come and fight for you as your champions. They basically become extra workers for you. You can do quests. They've got these quest cards here that you will need to try and fulfill the requirements for to undertake those and complete them. There is card-based sort of deterministic combat. There's not a dice in sight in this game. There's a lot of very Euro-y type mechanics going on, but there is so many ways to prosecute your various strategies towards victory, which is essentially either a victory point win at the end of 6 rounds, or you're going to have unlocked on your board. You see these little strange shaped pieces here. They flip over and they complete the actual picture that's on the board, the artwork. But each time you unlock one, you're going to get a new bonus, a new benefit, a new ability to your god. And you're going to be placing these temples out on the board. It's a very cool, ramps up in terms of the various abilities and the asymmetric powers that you'll have access to as the game progresses. Guys, there is so much in this. There is your standard sort of 2, 3, 4 players that you can fight against one another. They're bringing out a solo version, which is, I believe, in one of the expansions. There's 2 expansions for this. This is a big, complex, sophisticated game, and this is not going to be very cheap. This is probably going to be looking at something like around about £100 for the core game, and then there's going to be a couple of expansions to go with it as well. But this really is one of the games that I am most excited about. That is Hybris Disordered Cosmos. The next one is Human Punishment: The Beginning. Now, this one is on its way to fulfillment centres, I know that, so this really should be with us within the next few weeks. This is another big, complex game. Think a very cyberpunk setting, Blade Runner kind of feel to it. And as you can see in the little quote there, it could knock Battlestar Galactica off its throne. This is a game that's all about the intrigue. There will be those players you're not sure which side they're on when they're at your table. You're going to be playing as factions effectively, and you'll be deploying people across the city, going to various parts of this futuristic, very neon cyberpunk city, and you're trying to fulfill your win conditions whilst of course trying to stymie everybody else's. It's got some gorgeous components. One of the things that is really looking great is they've got this huge stack of poker chips which are used to track things like chips, strangely enough, computer chips that you're going to be trying to smuggle around various places around the city. Keep out the clutches of those who you think might be your opponents, to try and complete your victory conditions. This one's looking like it could be an absolutely epic game. We'll see in terms of the actual gameplay whether it is there too much going on here. Does it feel balanced? But this is one I'm really excited about. Okay, this next one is My Father's Work, and this one I know is at the fulfillment centres. They're going to start sending them out in early May, according to the manufacturers. Again, this is quite a lot going on. It's more of a Euro style game than anything else, and a Euro style worker placement game. But the setting for this really had me licking my lips when I first heard about it, because it's this very Halloween-esque Dr. Frankenstein's experiments kind of thing, where you will have a manor that you have inherited from your rather eccentric father, who is essentially a Frankenstein-style character, and you're going to be continuing his work, doing new experiments, of which there is a huge variety in the game of varying difficulties, A through C, and then there are even masterwork experiments that you're trying to complete, and that'll be things like perhaps creating a Frankenstein's monster, or being able to create, a teleporter. Any of these kind of great gothic horror type tropes, they've managed to get them in there. So you're going to be what's really clever about this, though, there's some really interesting stuff about this, is it's an app driven game, and so you'll be using an app alongside playing the game, and the app is bringing in these really cool RPG story like elements to what's going on. You play over 3 generations, so your work keeps getting passed on to the next generation, although not all of it. But what's really clever is that there is this interwoven story that will be progressing alongside your game. And not only that, but you see this village chronicle here. That's essentially a map book that will get laid out over this main map area here. And then as you are going through, progressing through the game, you'll do things like build new locations, a hospital might get built, or a library, or a church, or so on and so forth, that will give you new options as to where to place your workers to go and get stuff done. There will be different scenarios. There's several different scenarios even in the core box, and so the possibilities for expansion with this are really great. It's beautiful production. They haven't actually got some of the very nicest components on display here. Well, you can actually see they've got these really cool little experiment jars, literally with a cork in the top. There's some beautiful components in this, and this is one that is looking like an absolute classic for me to pull out every Halloween and get a game in, if not many more times throughout the year, because this could be really good. So on to our next one. We've got, now this is Degenerates. Now I've actually done a review on this on the site, because this is one of my absolute favourite, possibly my very favourite open world RPG game. Now I know you may look at this going, my eyes, what is this acid that's attacking them? It is literally one of the most unique looking games out there. The guy who created the artwork for us is He's quite a unique sort of guy. But why I'm bringing this up is they have done a Kickstarter for a reprint for this. This has been very successful for a very small sort of indie developer because the game is brilliant. This came out of nowhere with no like massive pedigree behind it at all, and I cannot explain to you how well developed, how real and fully alive and breathing this world feels when you are adventuring through it. And they've recently done a Kickstarter for a reprint. It's pretty difficult to get hold of this stuff. So they've done a reprint. So all of the core box expansions, of which there are several, they're all coming in, plus a load of scenario books, which have got lots of excellent lore and background in as well. So if you're a fan of this, look out for all the new stuff that you might have been finding it difficult to get a hold of landing. And if you haven't checked this out, this has built up quite a following, and I know a lot of people are really looking forward to this reprint landing. So I heartily suggest you look out for when this lands, snap up a copy as soon as you can, because it may be quite a long time again before they manage to do another reprint, if they even do. That is Dungeon Degenerates. It truly is glorious. And this is one that it's this or Hybris, I think, that I'm most excited about. This is Cryptic Explorers. Now this is another one with a very particular look, I know. Look at those monochromatic visuals that I'm showing you here. What is this? This is a squad-based tactical horror skirmish is what they're sort of calling it. Why is this cool? There is over 50 different characters that come with this game for you to play. And when you play, you have a squad of 3 characters. And if you're doing a 1 versus 1 type game, 2-player game, then you'll have a squad of 4 characters. And these different characters have extraordinarily different abilities. And what's really clever about it is you can really kind of soup them up. And then they get very powerful individually, and the interactions between the different characters is glorious. And it's a real challenge for the player that you're playing against, who plays as a goddess of death. The idea is that the Cryptic Explorers, the Cryptonauts, are going into the realms of death to explore it. That's these boards here. We've got 4 large boards, kind of big maps, and there's 2 smaller maps that are like 1v1, just little 2-player games. Excuse me. It is up to 4 players in a game. Now, the goddess player, there's 6 different gods in the game if you get the little expansion that comes with it as well, and they are various type of gods, such as the goddess of rot and decay, or the goddess of murder and blood, and there's a goddess of sleep who puts characters to sleep and makes them walk off ledges and all this sort of thing. Okay, the game itself is really tight. I have played this. It is a clean system. It is simple and straightforward. It is not a particularly complex rule set, but what they have done with this is created this brilliant, very, very tactical, tight experience. And the real joy comes from seeing these characters develop their various abilities, and then as the goddess player, working out how you're going to deal with these very dynamic and very powerful Cryptonauts with your own equally horrible and gribbly and disgusting little entourage of minions, because each goddess has their own different type of monster to fight with as well. In terms of the actual gameplay, it says 1 to 3 hours. I think I haven't played a game that's taken 3 hours. So I think this is a much more of a sort of a 2-hour is your sort of perfect slot kind of game. But my goodness, some of these characters and what they can do. One memorable game, we had a character called Ghost Hunter, who he was able to move up to 18 spaces, which was a lot, and he was able to shoot through walls. at the end of his 18 space move. That allowed all sorts of crazy combinations with the other characters, as far as I can remember it, in that particular game that we played with the Geist Hunter. There was another game I played with a character who had these great big arm appendages, who was able to pick monsters up and pull them closer to him, and then he would infect them with these spores that he had. That's just 2 out of the 50 odd characters. They're all very, very different, and I'm really, really excited about exploring the various combinations across the squads and how best to play these very varied and different goddesses. Yeah, so in this sort of one versus many type game, I generally like them best as a 1v1, and this one looks pretty special. And I have actually played a few games of it on Tabletop Simulator, and it was really, really good. So I cannot wait for this one to land. And so there we have it, 5 upcoming Kickstarters that I'm really excited about. I'd love to know, which one would you go for if there's one that you really need to get your hands on, or is it more than one? Which ones are you most excited to try and track down? I'm going to point out Cryptic Explorers and Hybris Disordered Cosmos as the ones that might be more difficult to get hold of. I think Cryptic Explorers has only had 1,000 print run, so that's really not very many when there's something like about 900 backers. They may have done a 1,500 one, I don't actually know the details, but even still, that's only going to be a few hundred copies left knocking about for them to sell on their website or maybe take to conventions. You've got to keep an eye out for that one, okay? If you see a copy of Cryptic Explorers or Hybris at one of your local stores or at the online, those are going to be worth snapping up, I think. They're going to be well received and they're going to be hard to get hold of. Let's hope they manage to get a reprint done. But even that's going to take a couple of years, as you know. So there it is. Let me know in the comments which one you're most excited about and which ones you're going to spend your hard-earned cash on. Anyway, until next time, keep enjoying your gaming.